This is insane. Okay, are you ready?
Buckle up.
Tucker Carlson gave a megaphone to one of America's biggest threats by posting his social media sit-down with Russian President Vladimir Putin. And even Putin trashed the interview. He was on a Russian state TV. He said he didn't get complete satisfaction from Tucker, who didn't ask the aggressive, sharp questions that he was expecting.
So I gotta be curious, is that the same interview that Putin said that Joe Biden was good for Russian interests? And just curious, guys, let me know in the chat if you think anyone at The View even bothered to watch the Tucker interview with Putin, because here are just a few examples of questions that were actually asked.
Who blew up Nord Stream? I mean, have you achieved your aims? Would you be satisfied with the territory that you have now? Really, my question is, what do you do about it? I mean, Hitler's been dead for 80 years. Nazi Germany no longer exists. And so, true. And so, I think what you're saying is you want to extinguish or at least control Ukrainian nationalism, but how? How do you do that? Can you imagine a scenario where you sent Russian troops to Poland?
I think it's probably pretty safe to say that they haven't watched even a little bit of this. You know, they allowed it to be distilled for them by unapologetic leftist propagandists, and now they're planning to perpetrate the same thing on their poor, unsuspecting victims that they call an audience. And I think after we watch this together, I think that that's going to become pretty clear.
Now, Putin went on to say he wants President Biden to stay in power because Biden's more predictable. Please, you know, child. Both of them is too much. So did Tucker play right into Putin's hands?
So this is going to come up a few times. So I think it's probably pretty smart to just look at what Putin actually said about the American election.
Кто лучше, Байден или Трамп?
Байден. Он человек более опытный, он прогнозируемый, он политик старой формации. Но мы будем работать с любым лидером США, которому окажет доверие американский народ. Послушайте, я когда встречался с Байденом в Швейцарии, это было, правда, несколько лет назад, 3 года, там, ну, и тогда уже говорили о том, что он недееспособный. Ничего подобного я не увидел. Ну да, он подглядывал свою бумажку, я, честно говоря, подглядывал свою, ничего такого нет. Но то, что он где-то, выходя из вертолета, ударился там, головой этот вертолет, но кто у нас не ударялся где-нибудь головой? Пусть первый бросит в него камень.
Isn't it amazing, man, that the so-called most evil man in the world is more diplomatic? And I'm not saying he's not evil. I'm not saying that at all. But he's the worst of the worst, if you ask most of these people. Yet he finds a way to be more diplomatic, and you can almost say more supporting of American democracy than any of the traitorous trolls in the Democrat Party. Everything the guy said is true. Joe Biden is more predictable. He is predictably freaking awful, and the world knows it. I mean, literally everyone knows it except for a few select, just tone-deaf minions here in the United States. And you can tell that Putin actually knows what he's talking about, because he essentially says that cognitive decline is the last of Biden's worries. The guy has always been an idiot, is basically what he said.
Look, I think obviously Putin here is using reverse psychology, saying that he prefers Biden. We have all seen the relationship and that he has with Donald Trump. We've all seen Donald Trump falling all over himself for years and years, even before being president, to kowtow to Putin and kind of get in his good graces. And I think that Putin, who's very smart and understands American psychology, sometimes I think better than Americans, realizes that if he says he prefers Trump, it'll be used against Trump, who is the guy that he actually wants. There is no doubt that he doesn't want the guy who is 100% backing and supporting Ukraine, not Russia, not Putin and his incursion. Well, it's not.
Unpack that all just step by step. And I know that this is like a futile exercise when we're looking at The View, but just bear with me. So when Putin says that he wasn't satisfied with the Tucker interview, whatever that means, I have no idea what that means. That could actually be a positive. I have no idea. But that is him telling the truth. Yet when he says that he prefers Joe Biden, that's him using reverse psychology. And just think about that for just a moment. Them bending themselves into pretzels trying to say that that's reverse psychology from a genius KGB agent. If Putin had said the same thing about Donald Trump, said that he prefers Donald Trump, would the leftists or the liberals or anybody at all be bending their brains into pretzels to find a deeper, truer meaning of his words? Or would they just take him at face value and be screaming, "I told you so," as loud and as fast and as often as they possibly could? I mean, it's truly freaking amazing. The brains on these people, the liberal brain should be studied. The ability these people have to trick themselves is unbelievable. They think Tucker interviewing Putin is giving the guy a bullhorn, but they think that they can say on The View that he's so smart and he understands Americans so much better than even Americans, and that somehow is not. That's not a ringing endorsement of any kind. And I don't honestly know how the viewers of The View, because I can't imagine they're a particularly intelligent group, I don't know how they keep their thoughts straight while they're watching this stuff.
Well, it's not American psychology, it's human psychology. This is a trained KGB spy. This man wanted to join the KGB at 15, went to their office, and he said, "I didn't know they didn't take walk-ins." This is a man that has wanted this kind of manipulative career for as long. Running with any word he ever says, you have to ask, what is he trying to do here? Because you cannot believe anything out of his mouth.
Yeah, except for what he says about Tucker Carlson, of course.
But can I say on the Tucker of it, Chris Wallace, a friend of mine and an actual journalist, said it best. He said, calling Tucker Carlson a useful idiot is an insult to useful idiots. Yeah. This is a man who actually thought he was going to go there and lead him down, you know, kind of explaining his incursion into Ukraine. But no, Putin ran circles around him. He insulted him to his face. He literally said, "Didn't you get rejected from the CIA?" Like, he used him as his puppet, and it exposed what many of us have been saying about Tucker Carlson. He's a Kremlin puppet who doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah.
Kremlin puppet who doesn't know what he's talking about. And this is not special for Tucker Carlson. This is basically how they describe anyone who questions even a tiny, tiny little bit the accepted narrative on Ukraine. Actually, any Democrat narrative, if you question a Democrat, then you are a puppet of Putin. Just ask Tulsi Gabbard, an actual Democrat. But I mean, here's a little more of what Tucker was actually doing over there. And when we see this, I think it's safe to say that we got to wonder if even Chris Wallace bothered to watch this either.
Who blew up Nord Stream?
You for sure.
This is your intel services. You would. That NATO, the US, CIA, the West did this. Why wouldn't you present it and win a propaganda victory?
In the war of propaganda, it is very difficult to defeat the United States, because the United States controls all the world's media and many European media.
Evan Gershkovich, who's the Wall Street Journal reporter, he's 32, and he's been in prison for almost a year. This is a huge story in the United States, and I just want to ask you directly, without getting into the details of it or your version of what happened, if as a sign of your decency, you would be willing to release him to us and we'll bring him back to the United States.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure the circles that they're talking about. I'm not exactly sure what's useful idiot about it. I mean, I think it's pretty clear, you know, they're just attempting to destroy and impugn the guy, not just Tucker himself, but his message and anyone who would dare listen to him. Remember, the same usual suspects ran the same exact play on the same exact guy when Tucker was the first to release footage that called even into tiny question the left's other favorite bogus, highly controlled, carefully crafted narrative, which is January 6th.
Ditto. And I also have a Chris Wallace quote. Chris Wallace slammed him, calling him an eager puppy. He said, Tucker Carlson showed up in Moscow this week to interview Vladimir Putin. It turned out to be anything but an interview. Putin droned on for 2 hours and 7 minutes while Tucker sat there like an eager puppy. And the thing is, I kept on wondering, why was Tucker even there? Because, you know, a federal judge found him not to be a journalist, found him to be non-credible here in the United States.
You needed to go to court to find that out?
Well, yeah, but he did go to court, and that's what was determined. I mean, so...
Oh, man, what a great question. A federal judge, an all-knowing, all-powerful, sentient federal being, declared that Tucker Carlson is not a journalist. That is amazing news. I mean, is there any way that we could get that same judge's opinion on The View? But, I mean, come on. That is complete and total garbage. That is the laziest, loosest, just heart not in an attempt to make sure that whatever mushy-brained victim hears this does not listen to even one word someone like Tucker Carlson has to say. And that is all that this is about. I mean, just a bunch of mindless, propagandist women doing as they're told and trying to hold together whatever fragile state-approved narratives that they possibly can. And it's amazing, guys, when you watch this stuff, that these people even exist. And the scary thing is when you realize that not only do these people exist, but they exist because there are millions and millions of people who trust and depend on them for information. I mean, how freaking terrifying is that? That is just freaking scary. But that's just my take, guys. Let me know yours in the comments and be a part of the channel's growth. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.